Hello. About 400 years ago, England was a very different place, and there was one very, very famous playwright then. He used to write plays. You know what a play is. It's like you've been to the pantomimes. Well, a play is like a pantomime, but it's about a grown-up story. And this playwright, William Shakespeare, wrote so many different plays and lots of poetry as well. And his plays were famous, and they were based upon historical fact. But he never was very truthful with the history, because it ruined the story. But his plays were very good, and there are all sorts of quotes that you get from them, which are amazing. I'm going to read you some now this morning, not very many. And you should try and get interested in it. Even at 5 years old, you can enjoy a Shakespearean play because the stories are so exciting and interesting. This one's from Richard III. And Richard III was a king about 700 years ago. He came to become king by fighting a lot of battles. And he was very, very good at fighting them. And this is part of the play where they're on a battlefield, and one of his men calls out, "Rescue, my Lord of Norfolk, rescue, rescue. The king enacts more wonders than a man, daring and apposite to every danger. His horse is slain, and all on foot he fights, seeking for Richmond in the throat of death. Rescue, fair lord, or else the day is lost." Richmond was the person that King Richard was fighting against. Anyway, King Richard is now coming into the scene. He's, you can imagine him in all his armour with a big sword. And he comes in, a big helmet on, and he comes in and he says, a horse, my kingdom for a horse." "Withdraw, my lord, I'll help you to a horse." And King Richard says, "Slave, I have set my life upon a cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 have I slain today instead of him. A horse, my kingdom for a horse." And he's begging then for somebody to get him a horse, because he can fight so more effectively from a horse. And he eventually gets a horse, and he wins the battle, and everybody is in great praise of him. The next one is part of a speech from the same story. And by now, Richard III is tired of battles, and he's sort of hiding away. And one of his most trusted lords, Gloucester, in fact he's a duke, the Duke of Gloucester, starts a speech all alone. "Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. And all the clouds that lord upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried, now are our burrows proud, bound with victorious wreaths, our arms bruised, hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front. Now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute." And Gloucester is complaining there. He says that Richard III's got soft a bit and isn't really fighting anymore. And he's not being very effective as a king because he's spending all his time chasing after women. Terrible. The naughty man. The next one is one from Hamlet, which is another play he wrote. Now, Hamlet was in Denmark, which is a long way from here. Mummies and daddies can show you where it is on a map. And Hamlet is a very indecisive king, and he doesn't know what to do. He can never make up his mind. And this is one that I sort of cheated with Kaya. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing them, end them. To die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is here to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. He can't make up his mind what he needs to do. And he's going, oh, what do I do? Oh, I don't know. What do I do? I don't know. Well, the story is about how he can't make up his mind about anything. And in the end, it causes so much heartache for everybody. And people die from it because of it, and people are sad. And, it's a right mess. But he can't make up his mind about anything. And that one's Hamlet. The last one is called The Merchant of Venice. And it's a play about a merchant in Venice, hence the title. And he's called Shylock. And he always has to have what people owe him. Doesn't matter what it is. He always has to have it. And his daughter, in the end, turns against him. And she has a little speech in a courthouse where she's begging for her father to stop prosecuting somebody because he wants to send the person to jail or worse. And she says, "The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His sceptre shows the force of temporal power, the tribute to awe and majesty. Wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings, but mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is a tribute to God himself. An earthly power doth then show likest gods, when mercy seasons justice." So she's begging then for her father to show mercy to the man, and not to prosecute him, and not hound him. But those are just 3 of the plays that Shakespeare wrote. The stories are lovely. And if you can, try and see one on the television. And I promise you, when you get a little bit older, I'll take you to one in real life. They put them on in special theatres, and they are magnificent.